And now, from Glasgow.
So hello, welcome to a brand new build. This is actually stage 1, although last week I did do the unboxing, so everything you see you've seen before. So in this in this video we're going to be doing 3 stages. Don't get excited because stage 1 and 2 is really just telling you how to cut the pieces off, but the whole thing is it's 116 stages. I'm going to be taking this build nice and slow, just like we will with a part work, and I'm literally going to be doing one stage at a time, one stage, one video. If there are any stages that are super easy, then obviously I'll look at maybe doing 2 stages. But look, I mean, it's going to, as you can see there, look, it's going to take us 8 weeks to get just to there. And that's how I'm going to take it. If it's something that doesn't interest you, doing it in small stages, then I would suggest maybe waiting a few weeks or a few months, and then you can binge watch a few videos. Obviously, you know what I'm like when I talk. The video does go on, but I'm hoping that all the videos will be quite short, so you just have them in small segments. So the 2 main things that we're interested in to begin with is we obviously have our manual, which is very good, actually explains everything. Now what I've done is I've gone through the manual and I've looked at all the pieces and I've actually put them into the trays in order. Let me take a quick cut and then I can get them and then I can show you. Okay, so when we got the model, we got everything was crammed into one box like this. Well, not like this. But what I've done is I've gone through the manual. I've ignored all of the wooden fretty bits. And what I've done is I've looked at all of the pieces. So that's the first time we use a metal piece. So I've placed that into a little section on its own. The next time we need a piece, it's down here. So I've placed them in there. And so on and so forth, and we're just going to work our way through. So obviously this will be the first tray to be completely empty, this one will be the next one, then this one. There are a few that are a bit out of order because they won't fit into the smaller ones, but they are placed roughly when they'll be used. Obviously if you don't have the workbench that I built a few weeks earlier, you can't do it like this. I just think it just helps. You know, a lot of people will agree preparation will help a lot. Now, the main issue I've got with this is these instructions are written in Spanish. It's the way that Occre work. They're a Spanish company. You know, now they do publish this supplementary sheet, and what they do is they list all the instructions in the relevant language. This is the English, this is possibly French, I don't know with my languages. This one might be Italian, I don't know, you can laugh at me. That I have no idea, I'm going to guess it German. Yeah, I think it's German because it's got that funny B in it. I don't know if you can see it there. Abskillebend. And then this one, and then that's it. Obviously you're going to be sitting here with 2 sets of instructions. What I've actually decided to do, it's going to take a bit of effort, but it's going to make my life so much easier. Let me just explain how these work. So this is photo 1, and then this is the English translation to photo 1. I've got a printer, scanner, copier. I think most people do. So what I've done is I've actually photocopied the English instructions, And then what I'm going to do is for each section I'm just going to cut those out like so. Obviously my knife blade needs replacing because it's not very sharp. When you can't cut paper, you know your blade is blunt. There we go. So there we go. I'm going to take the instructions. I'm only going to do this once for you guys because it's a little bit time consuming, especially when your blade is blunt. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my instructions and we're going to work out the rough length that we need indicated. And I'm going to get some glue stick, Pritt stick, whatever you want to call it. Pop a little bit of glue on and I'm just going to stick that over the manual. You'll notice that when I come to show you on the actual video what stage we're on, I will be showing you a copy of the instructions per stage, but it won't be including I haven't put much glue on that. It won't be including the actual written instructions, so you'll get to see the picture and then I'll go through everything as we build. So I don't know why I can't get any glue on that. Is it because I've got cheap Pritt stick? It doesn't matter that I've not covered up all of the Spanish instructions, just so long as the English instructions are visible. You know, obviously if you can read Spanish, you don't need to do this. So there we go. So I've now got to hand the instructions. It's not perfect, it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's going to save me flicking between two sheets of paper. Okay, so I'll do the rest of those off camera. What I'll probably do, because I'm doing one stage a week, I'll probably most likely just do 10 or 20 at a time because it's probably going to take me hours. But as long as I've got those look at that. That glue is terrible, isn't it? Maybe, you know, in my quest to save a little bit of money, I bought a cheaper glue stick. Maybe I should have just spent a little bit extra money and just got a better brand. There we go, that's on there. So now obviously we'll go through these. Right, so I suppose you all want me to begin the build, so let's crack on. So photo 1 explains that we proceed with the correct identification of the panel parts. To do so, number them as indicated on the PI sheet, the wooden sheet, which you will find on the last pages of the manual. Then on to photo 2, using a cutter, remove the parts from the sheets using the cutter by cutting the sprues, and then sand them down with fine grained sandpaper. And then obviously it doesn't tell you which parts to do, but photo 3, we can clearly see from the picture we're going to be using parts 1, 2 and 3. And it says always make sure that your parts fit correctly before gluing them in place. Fit and glue the front 2 and the back 3 onto the base 1 using white glue. Okay, so we have our sheets of wood, and what we need to do is we need to identify parts 1, 2 and 3. So we have this little map here, and we can see that part 1 is there, and that will be on this sheet. So that's part 1 there. Part 2 is identified there. We have to be a bit careful with that. So that's part 2 there, and part 3 is this piece there. Now these two parts there, which is inside number 2, we do need to keep those. So what I'll do is I'll just cut part 2 out first, and then with a piece of masking tape I can label these. In fact, I'm going to label these first, and then that way, if they should ping off during the cutting process, they'll still be labelled. So I'll label those. Now I'm going to pop a little label on these other pieces as well, even though they appear to be scrap. I don't like to throw too much away while I'm building. 2 reasons. One is they may actually have forgotten to tell us that we need them, and secondly, they might come in useful. So what I've done is I've marked them with an X, but the 2 that we need, part 66, they're there. Now let's have a look and see if my blade will cut through this. Actually, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently score. You'll see that these are held to, they are cut all the way through, but every now and again you've got a little nub. You see there's a nub there, and what you want to do with the thinnest blade you can, cut through them. Now don't push down on the knife. In fact, actually that's probably the wrong blade to use. If you've got a rounded blade, that will probably be better. Try to roll. Now a blade isn't designed to cut by pushing. Don't do this at home, guys, but look, I'm pushing on my finger, and you can see I definitely did push in, and it's not cutting my finger. The way a blade works, and do not go anywhere near anything, it works on the action of movement. So if you move it that way, that's how it cuts. Now the great thing about the rounded blade is that you can roll it. So if you put your blade just before the mark and then roll it on, that should cut it through, which that has done, and that's your most efficient way. Don't push. What will happen is you'll push so much pressure onto the blade is likely to snap, and we can't predict where your hand will go. So your hand could slip and you could end up putting the knife through your finger. So take the blade, let me zoom in on this one, and I'll give you a better demonstration. Right, so there's the little nub there. I'm exaggerating this, guys, but look, I'm placing my knife just before, and then I'm going to roll that on, and then I'm going to rock it backwards and forwards, and then you should know when it goes through. And because I've exaggerated, it hasn't actually done it so well. But look, I'm going to come in there. You see where there's quite a distance between the two. I'm aiming to use that part there as the cutting edge, just there. So let's try that again. There we go, and there's a little click and it's cut it through. Okay, nice and easy. So what I'm going to do, always try to work towards you guys, because that's a lot comfortable. So look, I have the piece to the left. Can you see how much easier that was? Okay, and I think, yeah, don't. Now I know I did push the pieces out when I was doing the workbench, and that wasn't a problem because it doesn't have to be neat. This one we want to be neat, so we don't want to push them out. If they're not connected, make sure you cut them off, because we want this to be as neat as we possibly can. I'm going to pop that there, and I'm going to come back to it, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little fast forward, and I'm going to get these pieces cut out. Okay, so an observation that I made when I cut these pieces 66 out, when I cut there, the blade actually bent it. It didn't break it, so I've got away with it. Secondly, I didn't notice that there was a tab there, so when I pulled it out, it's actually ripped a little bit of the wood out. It's not going to be a problem, because we can fill that in with a bit of filler. But what I'm actually going to try and do, this might just be mad enough to work, I'm going to glue that in. I think actually I'll fill it. So yeah, not checking my work enough has got me a slight issue there, but we'll see if I can salvage it. So what I'm going to do is, with a cocktail stick, I'm going to push some of my glue to the top. In fact, we can get a scrap piece of wood. So I haven't cleaned the nozzle from last time I used it. So little tiny bit of glue. And let's say I can get some wood filler. This is all going to be painted over. At least I haven't actually snapped the piece in half. Okay, and then, so it's such a shame that something's happened right on the first stage, but to be honest with you, if it's going to happen, maybe it's good it's happened on the first stage. You know, I'm going to be a little bit more careful from now on. That is still going to need filler, but obviously, can you think of a better filler than wood? This bit's just come off in my finger. Right. So that is my pieces cleaned up. Sorry, that's my pieces removed from the sprue. What I'm going to do to the other two pieces, I will do to this. But because I have this piece of... I've got a split there as well. This is very soft wood, guys. So what I'm going to do... I'm just going to pull that out as much as I dare. I'll pop a little tiny bit of glue on there. And I'll just push that back into shape. And then we'll leave it. So, right, so what I'm about to show you on the other pieces, I will be doing this to this. But because it's, obviously it's got glue on it, I'm going to save it. I'm going to do it off camera. Okay, so obviously the first thing we've done is we've cut some pieces off and we want to keep them safely. So I'm actually going to pop these into there. And all these little small pieces of scrap, like the bits that went in the inside there, there's also one in there that I missed. These are actually definitely scrap. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep them. You never know when you want just a tiny piece of wood. And if you don't use them, you know, come the end of the build, you can throw them away. Right, so what we want to do now is we want to get ourselves some sandpaper, fairly fine sandpaper. I'm grabbing this at random. This is 1500, and you want to cut yourself off a small piece. And what we need to do now is, as we've cut all of these nubs off, we just need to just file them down so that they're nice and flat. That's a little bit awkward, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a smaller piece of sandpaper and I'm going to wrap that around a craft stick, or in this case this is actually a kebab stick, and we're just going to rub that along there. What you might find easier, scrape it with a knife, that could work. Just get the main bit off with a knife, and then we can finish it off with sandpaper. And you'll know when it's ready because you get all of this black from the laser cutting. When you've got rid of that black, you'll see it's done. Okay, you can see the nub there, but you can also see, you know, you can feel it. So these are going to be a little bit trickier to do. Like that. Lovely. And then we'll go around and we'll do all of the pieces. I'm obviously not going to do this just yet because that's still waiting for the glue to dry. So we'll get most of that off with a knife. Don't go in too deep with the knife, guys. And obviously, the more time you spend doing this prep work, the better the end result will be. Okay. If you get yourself a sanding block, this might make it easier, but obviously you can't always get into there. What you might also want to consider is cutting strips of sandpaper and actually super gluing them to the stick, and you'll make yourself a makeshift sanding stick. Now this is very fine sandpaper. You may want to consider using different grades, but there we go. I'm happy enough with that. And then once that's done, find a block or something and we'll just go over the whole lot. We'll just get rid of that burnt mark from the process of cutting. You don't have to do this, but or do you have to do it? It's up to you guys, but it's just giving it nice and smooth. You don't want to take any length off or any width off the wood, because obviously these are all designed to be fit together. And then we'll do the same on this, and then once this is dried off a bit, we'll do the same on that as well. Okay, so on to stage 3 proper. As you can see, I've just done a dry fit. Always dry fit, and I've just pushed that a little bit too hard. I've applied a bit too much pressure there, and I've just broken that. I don't think that's a problem. I've only bent it. So be careful where you're holding it. Hold it from the thicker bits. But I did do a dry fit, and that's lovely fit. And then this piece is going on the back. Now I think this is a clever bit of engineering. What we need to do is we have to glue this in, but on a later stage we'll be cutting this out, but we won't be cutting it out until after we've built the sides up. So what we've got that'll be just enough to hold itself in place, but once we've got the sides in, it'll be held in firmer. Then we cut the edges. So I think that's quite clever. Now it does state on the instructions that this must go in at 90-degree angle. It doesn't stipulate this bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this piece in, and I'm going to use my little something. Get something that you know is 90 degrees. So I've got, these are called 1, 2, 3 blocks. These are 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inches, but each angle is 90 degrees, and they're heavy. So they're very useful for not measuring but holding things together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply just a little bit of glue there, and I'm going to apply glue with a cocktail stick. You don't need to apply tons of glue. If you apply extra glue, it's all going to squeeze out and you've got clean up and sanding to do. But if you don't apply enough glue, obviously it won't stick. The fact that we've sanded this all nice and flat will help us. I'm also going to put a little bit of glue along this tab, because this tab is going inside there. Equally, you could apply the glue inside here. Now the glue that I'm using is a big brand wood glue. It has a tendency to dry a little bit quicker than shop own brand glues, but it should still have a good working time. So we're placing that in carefully, watching that window frame, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 1, 2, 3 blocks and I'm going to push those against there. And now when it comes to the back, it doesn't say anything about angles, but I'm going to assume it's going to be 90-degree angle, and I don't actually have any more 1, 2, 3 blocks, so I'm going to leave that to sit for 10 or 15 minutes, make sure it's set, then I'll do the back. Once that's strong enough to just hold by itself, that will be absolutely fine. Okay, so while that was drying, I've then made the decision I'm actually going to be doing stages 4 and 5 as well. The reason for that is it's going to build the support up on the side, and then that way we won't need to actually work out the exact angle here. If we apply the sides while this glue is still wet, what we will actually do is we can then add the glue onto there, and then we'll bring that in. I don't know if that's the right place. That's actually got to go there, isn't it? But yeah, we'll bring it all together. So yeah, okay. And then this piece, I might leave this piece off actually. This is going on the front. So yeah, so stage 3, continuing stage 3, we want to glue this on. So what I'm going to do is get my little pack with the glue in. We'll just pop some more glue on there, and again I'm going to apply it with a cocktail stick. We're looking for all of the contact points, so there's going to be along there, because I do feel we need a strong contact. Once we've got a basic box, then we can add one piece at a time. I'm going to add some glue along there as well, and yeah, that's all that's going to be needed, I think. And when I'm applying the glue, can you see there's a very thin layer? I can see the white of the glue, but it's not a thick solid white. Okay, so that's going to go on like that. Then that might fall over because the glue is wet. Now we now need to turn this over. This is stage 4, so I'll do bear with me a sec. Sorry, my apologies. I do little cuts because it's so much easier to add in the pictures and things like that. So this is piece number 4. This is stage 4. This is piece number 4. So this is going to go in along there. And if you are worried about the glue setting fully, maybe just put a little tiny bit extra glue on, but just do be aware of the glue squidge, as I like to call it. And that's going on there like so. And then what we need to do is we need to add, sorry, bear with me. Okay, so that's stage 4 complete. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do these 2 side pieces, and then that will make sure these end pieces are correct. This one should be correct, so we've left it long enough to dry. So this might fall apart as you do it. Let's do a little dry fit. So that's going in like so. Slightly fiddly, not overly fiddly. And yeah, I can see the way that it's shaped. I don't want to touch the bits that aren't fully dry yet. There we go. So we're always going to do the dry fit. Yeah, see that? I think this is not quite the right angle, but because the glue is, yep, and that's just fallen off. That's not a problem. This is perhaps why they've called it a medium skill level, not a hard. It's definitely not an easy. Right, I'm wondering if it might be easier to glue, leave this off. Okay, what I'm planning on doing is putting this side piece on as a dry fit and leave it on, and then, yeah, see, put one bit on. I'm wondering if maybe the elastic band should be coming out to help keep it on, or maybe some masking tape. And now that glue's gone dry, so this is a bit of an awkward one, but we'll keep persevering. You know me, I don't give up. Maybe I should just glue this on and leave the glue to set just a little longer. The important thing here, you've got two holes there, they need to go downwards. So, and do you know what? That's almost gone in. This is making me almost swear. There we go. That's on. That's on as a dry fit. So now we've got our rough angles. You see it's not on perfect, but that's something that we can manipulate. That's actually not gone on very well at all. So I think we're going to be doing some filling and sanding. But that is, at least it's got the angles correct. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to dry fit this side. That's gone in quite nice actually. It's gone in on one side. So I just need to push this down a bit. Right, there we go. That's gone in. Now what I'm thinking would be a good idea, now that we've got these in at the correct angles, I think it might be a good idea just to leave that for a while. Let that glue just dry off a little bit, and then we can start looking at this. And I want to start looking at these gaps, because it is quite gappy as a dry fit. So we may want to perhaps just adjust, do some sanding, and just to make these fit a little bit better. And then I think we will end up using fillers, but I think if we can get these to fit nice, it's going to minimize the amount of filling, because we do want this to look like a nice metal finish at the end. So I'm going to leave that for a bit and just let the glue dry off a bit. Okay, so while I was waiting for these bits to dry, I was playing around with some clamps. I was seeing if maybe I could clamp it down, and I think I found the perfect way to clamp it. Well, I say perfect, it's not perfect, but it's okay. So let me show you what I've got. So this is still dry fitting, but I'm going to keep that side in. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my glue, as always. I'm going to apply with a cocktail stick, and I want all my contact points. So I've had a look, and I want to apply glue along there, almost all the way up to there, and then obviously where it makes the contact along there. So let's do this bit first. It's a little bit too much glue on that bit joint there, but that's not a problem. We'll just scrape some of that off. we'll apply it there and on there. Now I'm actually glad I've made the decision to do just the one stage at a time, which obviously I'm doing 5 at the moment, but this is just to get it started. But the reason I think it's good to do future stages one at a time, it isn't just as simple as doing exactly what the instructions say. The instructions will say glue this on, but there's going to be some sanding involved as well. And if you watched my last video on the Eddie Stobuck doing the floor, you'll see that sanding isn't just as simple as go and it's done. It is time consuming. The better result you want to get, the more work you're going to have to put in. Right, that's a bit of a struggle. There we go. Right, so the way I found to clamp this is, if you can get a small clamp like this, you'll see you've got these orange ends. You want this flat end to be on the bottom of the bus, but on the top you want the lip to be just behind that orange bit. Okay, so flat there, but just bring the orange bit on the top in, and you'll see that's going to push. Well, it worked in practice anyway. I think it'll work better when there's more clamps on. I could also benefit from using some elastic bands, but can you believe it? Such a basic tool, I don't actually have any to hand. Now one of the other clamps has just fallen off. Right, okay. This is the way it goes, isn't it? When you do the dry fit, it's perfect. As soon as you actually do it filming it, everything goes wrong. Right, why did that work a minute ago? There we go. Right. Now obviously if you've got all these special clamps, then fantastic. But I'm making do with what I've got. I'm going to have to apply more glue to that because I think it's lost it. Yeah, I'm going to have to reapply the glue. Sometimes it might be worth applying a really thin layer of glue and just let that sit. Don't actually apply the part, but just apply the glue, let it just go tacky, then apply some more glue and then stick it down. There we go. That's, sorry, bear with me a sec. Okay, my apologies for that. I had a little knock at the door. Right, so let's try this again. So we'll get one of the clamps, placing the orange flat bit at the bottom, and just bring that clip in a little bit at the top. Still holding it down now. Do the same on the other side, but I'm actually going to do it on the joint there. Okay, and then these are peg stroke clamps. Just going to clamp that in the middle to give it a bit more pressure, and then just check the fit. If there's any bits that aren't quite in, we'll just give them a little bit of a push, and then obviously keep an eye on it. Now if I had a clamp that could go across there, that would be superb, but that I'm happy with. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the clamps off on the other side, and I'm going to glue the other side in, and we're going to do that exactly the same, and hopefully this will go in one go. And I think we're about to have an invader by the name of Shadow. Anyone who's a regular viewer to my channel knows that he's absolutely determined to get into every single video I make. Please don't, Shadow. I'm dealing with glue and I'm dealing with wood, and you're not having it, are you? Right. And I really don't want to make another cut, mister. You know why? Because I've actually covered his bed up with my parts. So he's probably just telling me, oi, my bed is not clear. There you go, mister. Right, I know you don't like being picked up, but there you go. Good boy. Right, okay, so remember these little holes need to be at the bottom. You might want to apply this with a brush, that might work equally well, but I'm doing okay with a cocktail stick. I'm just making sure, just a little light layer. You don't need to do loads of glue. I'll show you the result in a moment. I've got very minimal glue squidge. Okay, that's going to go in there. Take your time with this, guys. You know, you're not in a rush. Okay, that's gone in quite nicely. Lovely job. Lovely job. So, clamp. We put the flat bit on the bottom, but just bring that in a little bit near the top. And I have actually got a bit of glue squidge. So, that's just ever so slightly unfortunate, but it's okay. So just push that in, make sure it's in properly, and then we got our normal peg, and that's going to go down like that. Okay, so if you look on the hole, there's not a lot of squeeze out, and any squeeze out that we do get, all we need to do is just run down with a cotton bud. Just get that out. Okay, I'm not worried too much about the outside, but you see I've got quite a bit there, so I'll just get rid of that. And then this is the bit that I consider important. Double check, give that a good push. I can see there's a gap there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run with a cocktail stick with a bit of glue in there. Whoops, didn't mean to drop that. Okay, a little bit of glue. I can just push that in, and we'll see if maybe we can get something else on there. I don't think I can. So that's... maybe just hold it down for a bit. Obviously we want to minimize these gaps as much as we can. Okay, it looks very scruffy at the moment, and to be honest with you, it is quite scruffy, but it's all going to get tidied up later on. Now where the glue is, it's going to be a very tight bond. In fact, the glue, where the glue is whoops, is actually going to be stronger than the wood itself. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Oh, that one slipped. You don't need these clamps on for too long, actually. You just need them long enough for the glue to set. Right, I think I am happy with that stage. So what we'll do is next week we'll have stage 6. In fact, we'll probably do stages 6 and 7 together because they're quite simple stages. We need to cut these pieces out. I'm not going to do them exactly as per the instructions. I'm going to do them ever so slightly different because I'm finding this wood is quite fragile. But I think this is a really good place to stop the filming. That looks a bit warped for some reason. There we go. Right, so I'm just pulling that out a little bit because it feels like it's gone inwards a bit. Right, so that I'm happy with that. I mean, look, after one stage, you can actually see that it is bus-like. You can see that this is the front of the bus. You can see where this is the passengers are going to walk in and out. There will be some seats along there, and obviously there'll be a top deck. It's giving you a rough idea of the size already. These squares on this cutting mat are 1 centimetre each. So you can see that it's about 16 centimetres long at the moment. Yeah, and I'm quite happy with that. So that is my stage 1 complete. It is done up to stages 5. Next week we'll do stages 6 and 7. Like I say, I plan to do one stage per video, but obviously I'm being dynamic. I did only want to do 3 stages in this one, but I think it's a lot simpler to do those extra 2 stages because it's added that strength. So I would suggest you, first time you sit down to do this, do the first 5 stages. Right guys, that is it for me for this week. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care guys, bye bye.